If you've ever felt like a place didn't want you there, like something was watching you from the shadows, or the air itself carried a warning, you're not crazy, because some towns truly are cursed, whether they're from ancient rituals, tragic massacres, deadly disasters, or plain old evil. These are the towns you should never visit, like ever. We're not talking about urban legends here. These are real places, documented, photographed, and in many cases still standing today, as if waiting for someone foolish enough to walk back in. Calabro, Italy, the town where saying its name brings misfortune. Locals won't even say its name, they just call it that town. Calabro sits high in the hills of southern Italy, and it has a reputation so toxic that, so much as whisper in the town and its surrounding villages, people actually spit on the ground to ward off evil. It all began when a high-powered lawyer declared in court, "If I'm lying, may this chandelier fall." And it did, right onto the courtroom floor. Nobody was hurt, but from that moment on, Calabria was doomed. Now, over the next few decades, people in nearby areas blamed the town for everything from sudden passings to car crashes to crops falling. One popular theory is that the curse comes from La Catre, which is a mysterious woman said to be a witch who lived in isolation and was blamed for casting evil spells on men who rejected her. Now, even tourists report electronics malfunctioning as soon as they enter the village. There are stories of people experiencing sudden nosebleeds, dizzy spells, and even blackouts while walking through its eerily quiet streets. The town capitalizes on the myth with an annual festival, but the locals, they keep their distance. Dudley Town, Connecticut, the village that drove people mad. Now, deep in the woods of Connecticut, a once thriving settlement is now completely erased from modern maps. Dudley Town has no street signs, no population, just rumors, whispers, warnings. It was founded in the 1740s by a family whose bloodline was supposedly cursed after involvement in English royal scandals. Now, over time, the town became a vortex of tragedy. Residents suffer horrific losses, entire families passed away by taking their own lives, people went mad or just vanished, and when the town basically just dissolved after that. Now, today, the woods that cover Dudley Town are eerily silent, no birds, no bugs. Paranormal investigators call it a dead zone. Visitors report overwhelming panic, nausea, and unexplained scratches appearing on their bodies. Even Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures refused to film an episode there, calling it one of the most dangerous locations in America. The Dark Entry Forest Association now owns the land and bans public access, but thrill seekers still sneak in. Some never make it back out without being changed in some terrifying way. Akigara in Japan, which is the forgotten cursed villages. Now, Akigara is infamous, the forest of doom, but what most people don't know is that on the edges of Akigara are forgotten villages that once practiced something darker than demise, Asut, which is the ancient and horrifying tradition of abandoning the sick and elderly in remote areas to just pass away. These ghost villages were already steeped in tragedy before the taking your own lives, epidemic took hold. Now, locals believe that by leaving loved ones to pass in the forest, they'd avoid starvation for the rest of the family, during famine. It wasn't assassination, it was a sacrifice to them. Now, today, these villages are beyond repair, buildings half swallowed by vines and rot, shrines toppled over, and homes, still containing, tattered futons and rusted utensils. Visitors who enter often return with stories of spirits following them home, cameras that refuse to work, and a very eerie sense of being watched. Even Japanese psychics refuse to go near the forest, saying it's filled with yuri, which is restless souls trapped between life and the afterlife, angry at how they passed. Pryya Ukraine, the ghost town time forgot. Now, on April 26, 1986, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. Within 36 hours, over 49,000 people fled the nearby town of Pryya. Now, what they left behind is a time capsule of nuclear terror, schools with half-marked tests, homes with dinner still on the table, and dolls' heads littering the streets, literally. But the radiation isn't the only thing that's stuck around. Paranormal investigators have documented cold spots in the warm summer months, sudden drops in temperature, phantom footsteps, and the sound of children giggling in the empty amusement park there. Now, one former resident swore she saw her mother standing in a window of their old apartment 15 years after she passed. Others Others have reported glowing humanoid figures appearing near the reactor. There's even a legend about the Blackbird of Chernobyl, a winged humanoid figure that dozens claimed to see before the disaster. So eyewitnesses, described red eyes and deafening screeches, and once the explosion occurred, well, the sighting stopped. Coincidence or something much more terrifying? Centriia, Pennsylvania. This is the town that's still burning today. Beneath the surface of Centriia, Pennsylvania, a fire has been burning for over 60 years. In 1962, a landfill fire accidentally ignited a coal seam that still smolders underground to this day. Now, roads buckle, smoke pour from cracks in the ground, the air reeks of sulfur and scorched earth, but it's not just the physical danger that's terrifying there. There are also chilling supernatural claims. Former residents and visitors have reported hearing voices in the smoke, including cries for help coming from beneath the ground. Some say that they've seen shadow figures moving inside the fog as well. A local priest once declared the land was cursed, saying the mine opened a gate to hell. And get this, Centriia directly inspired the ghostly town of Silent Hill in the video game and movie series. Today, only a few homes remain standing, but even those are technically illegal to inhabit, so don't go. A highway into town called Graffiti Highway has since been covered by the state to keep people out. Humberstone and Lenora in Chile, which is a grave-robbing ghost town. Now, in the middle of Atacama Desert sit two mining towns kind of frozen in time and surrounded by demise. Now, Humberstone and Lenora were once bustling with nitrate miners, but exploitation, brutal working conditions, and disease kind of decimated the population. Now they're full-blown ghost towns, and I mean that literally. Decades ago, grave robbers looted local cemeteries, leaving open coffins, shattered bones, and disturbed tombs under the desert sun. The result? Well, a spike in paranormal activity so intense that even scientists started paying attention. Visitors have captured apparitions walking across dusty streets. In EVP sessions, ghost hunters recorded chilling messages in Spanish, some sounding like miners screaming for help. Now, there are also reports of small, childlike figures appearing in doorways and then just vanishing into thin air. And the temperature often drops nearly 20 degrees inside these abandoned homes. Kadara, India, the village that disappeared overnight. Now, 2 centuries ago, the entire population of Kadara, around 1,500 people or so, vanished literally overnight. Now, according to legend, they left behind a curse so powerful that no one has ever been able to live there again. The story goes that a powerful minister demanded to marry a village girl against her will. Rather than surrender her, the entire community evacuated in secret, leaving behind food, clothes, and livestock. Before they left, they cursed the land, though. Now, attempts to resettle Kadara have failed, spectacularly. Farmers have found their animals kind of passed away overnight. Tourists reported disembodied voices and the sensation of being watched from behind. And there's also crumbling walls. Paranormal teams from around the world, including India's own ghost hunting societies, have visited Kadara, and nearly all report very unexplained activity. Oridor sur Glane in France, which is a villain frozen in mass execution. On June 10th, 1944, SS troops executed 642 people in the quiet village of Oridor sur Glane, including over 200 children. The town was left exactly as it was found: burnt out buildings, rusted bikes, sewing machines, and ashes. Now, the French government declared it a historical monument, but what's never been officially acknowledged is the heavy, suffocating presence that lingers there. Tourists report intense waves of sadness, seeing children's shadows darting between buildings, and hearing, basically just loud noises echoing in the distance. Some say they've heard the church bell ring, even though it was melted in the fire. Now, psychics who visited the site describe it as one of the most emotionally overwhelming places in Europe, so thick with sorrow it almost, takes you out. Now, these aren't ghost stories made up to sell books. These are places you can still visit if you dare. But after hearing what's happened to those who tried, the question is, should I go? It's no. Will I ever come back the same? Stay curious, but stay away. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Ashley. Until next time, stay scared.